Welcome to Crosby's Crew. Welcome back to Crosby's Crew. I'm Molly Crosby, here with my husband, Mason Crosby, and Keith and Holly Emerson. And today we're busting some big myths around American wine, from sulfites to alcohol levels and to whether or not you have to drink organic. We're getting into it. There's good and bad winemaking in every country. We at Crosby's Crew would love nothing more than to steer you away from the bad wines. So, Mason, are you ready to kick us off?
Good one, Molly.
You're going to hear that every episode.
I'm always ready. So, yes, raise your glass. We'll start every episode off with a nice toast. This toast is, friendship is the wine of life. Let's drink of it and to it. Cheers. From an anonymous author. So, cheers.
Salud.
Or salud.
And we really want to thank Holly and Keith. We won't get into it, but we know it's been a week for you guys. And I honestly was so looking forward to just getting to see your face and sit down and record this episode together, just to be as close as we can be on two different sides of the country. Just
thank you.
You
honey.
haven't been
Thank
far
you,
from our
friends.
thoughts.
Yep. We appreciate y'all. All right. What are you looking at me for?
Oh, I just like looking at your face. So Holly and Keith, here we are. Can you take us through? We really were confused when we hear some of our friends say we can't drink American wine. And we've tried to kind of talk this through together to even figure out what the main topics are. And it sounds like it's going to be a two-parter. But what are we going to cover today? And, and what are we drinking to do
Absolutely.
so?
Yeah, we're going to taste wine from 3 different countries. I think the common denominator here is alcohol level today. So we're in the mid 14s here. We're going to taste a Napa Valley Cabernet from Vineyard 29, the Cru Napa Valley Cab, which I happen to be making. I've been making that wine for 20 years now. And that's about 14.6% alcohol. And then we're going to taste a Barolo from Italy, from northern Italy. And that's about 14.5% alcohol. And then we're going to taste a Rioja from Spain, which is about 14.5% alcohol. So they're all about the same alcohol level. And that's sort of the common denominator there. And we're just going to taste them. They're all dry. They're all wines that have been fermented to dryness, so no residual sugar. And we'll talk about all kinds of things in the wines. We'll go through them, kind of dive in as we go. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think we start, excuse me, maybe we start with the Barolo. I think that's what we have in our glasses now.
Yeah.
And you know, just the kind of, some of the things that do affect American wines, or the myths that are American wines versus European wines: alcohol, sugar, which is one we'll get into at another episode because that's a big one, and sulfites. So some of the things that we hear is, oh, I can't drink American wines, there's too much sulfites. People don't actually talk about alcohol that much, and I think that there is an assumption that American wines have tons of alcohol and Europeans don't. And so that's kind of the first myth we are busting right now. Like, we found a great Rioja and a great Barolo that have the exact same alcohol as a Napa Cabernet. So I think that that's where we start.
Yeah, I think maybe our take-home message today, and hopefully people agree, alcohol is probably more of the headache factor than histamines or sulfites or anything like that. You drink too much alcohol, you might have a headache.
Yeah.
So moderation.
Yeah. Check the label. Absolutely.
Check the label. So until I came to Napa and we were introduced to these amazing wines like this Cru from Vineyard 29, like, I would never look at a bottle and say, all right, it's 13, it's 14%. And like what that means, it's just like, all right, this tastes great, all that. So yeah, run us deeper into why that's important. And again, headaches and like, your tasting and how to moderate that, especially whenever those higher alcohol contents are involved.
Wine in moderation is what we're advocating here, not necessarily over consumption. To appreciate these wines, it's amazing, but to appreciate them fully, I think food comes into play. I think plenty of hydration, water is very important. But I think that's the name of the game. Appreciate these wines with make sure they're accompanied by something else, by some food, maybe some cheese, maybe some crackers, maybe a full meal, and obviously stay hydrated as well. It's important. you can get dehydrated. I mean, any type of alcohol, whether it's vodka or tequila or beer or anything, you can get dehydrated. And so, it's important to, health is important, and it's important to take care of yourself. So when you're consuming these wines, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One and one,
Until
right?
you forget.
Yeah. When you're consuming these wines,
Go
just
one and one.
appreciate what you have in the glass and maybe don't overdo it.
Keith, can you talk about where alcohol even comes from level-wise? So ripeness in grapes. And that's really the reason that we chose a Barolo and this Rioja, because similar climates.
Yeah.
So yes, in theory, it would be difficult to find a 14.5% alcohol Bordeaux just because it's colder in Bordeaux. So.
Yep. I've had a lot of interns from different countries. Every year, every harvest, we bring in interns. And one of the most common things I hear are people from northern Italy saying how similar the hills of California, of Napa Valley, look to northern Italy, to Piemonte, that sort of area. And temperature, climate-wise, is actually very similar. And same with Rioja. Rioja is actually northern part of Spain and a warmer climate. So these basically, alcohol comes from sugar. When the yeast is inside, during the fermentation, when the yeast is in there, it is basically chomping on the sugar and creating alcohol. So the yeast eats the sugar, turns it into alcohol. That's ethanol. And in a warmer region, the grapes accumulate higher sugar levels. In a cooler region, they accumulate lower sugar levels. And so the lower sugar level would yield a wine with a lower alcohol. The higher sugar level will yield a wine with a higher alcohol. And of course, winemaking can come into play there too. You can manipulate things a little bit. But warmer regions, usually higher alcohol. That's just a trend. There's a reason why Shiraz from Australia has typically very high alcohol. It's very hot in a lot of those regions in Australia. Yeah. So that's sort of alcohol, how it is created in a wine.
Yeah, and you can say, well, why wouldn't you just pick it earlier? And that is the case. There's a lot of people that do pick earlier, and that is it's a major decision of winemakers. But because of just the climate in general, you don't want, alcohol is not the only thing, or sugar is not the only thing you're looking for to signify ripeness in a grape. There is physiological ripeness, and there is other things that come into play. So sometimes when you do pick it early, because that's where you want the sugar to translate to the proper alcohol, the rest of the components in the grape aren't necessarily ready.
Yeah, we're out there. When I'm in the vineyard, I'm out there looking at, I'm tasting the grapes, deciding when to harvest, and talking to the farmer about irrigations and things like that. But I'm tasting the skins, seeing if they're resolved or if they're still chalky and tannic. I'm tasting I'm looking at the seeds and seeing if they're still green or if they're starting to tan a little bit or even get towards brown. Tasting the juice and the pulp. Sometimes the pulp pulling off the seeds is going to tell you a lot about what the grapes are going to do inside the fermenter, and then looking at the pH and the titratable acidity. So there's a lot of different things besides sugar. Sugar just happens to be what creates alcohol, but there's a lot of different factors, flavors, tannins, acid, all that stuff.
So really, it's a matter of flipping over the back of the label, checking out the alcohol, and saying, all right, well, this Bordeaux is 13, this Napa Cabernet is 14.5, but I really feel like a glass of Napa Cabernet tonight. I'm not going to drink this just because it's lower alcohol. Maybe I'll have this, which I'm actually really craving and will go great with my steak tonight. I'm just going to have one less glass to balance it out.
So low alcohol content, let's drink that whenever it's warm out, and then we'll drink the higher alcohol content when it's cold out.
That's great. I would recommend that. It's going to, in the wintertime, a nice, higher alcohol wine is probably going to warm you up.
Cozier.
And then in the summertime, it's the opposite.
It also has a lot to do with food, right? And how you metabolize. And,
I love it.
And a lot of times when it's winter time, you're eating heavier, more comforting meals. And in summertime, you're not going to be like, oh, we're having watermelon for dinner. Let's have a Cabernet. So
I'd like to do a little show and tell right now. So I have a filet over an arugula salad here.
Mamma mia.
And the kids were super interested in this morning. I've got a blistered
Love
tomato
it.
pappardelle.
Yeah, this looks amazing.
And then some manchego cheese, green olives, fig and pistachio
that for the
chocolate,
Rioja.
and some little. And we were. If you see us doing
exactly,
it's because we're eating and we're trying not to. But it was interesting. My first impression of this wine is the Rioja wasn't my favorite. But then I had, and when I say it wasn't my favorite, it felt kind of tart to me. I almost would use the word abrasive. It's just not warm and cozy. But then I had a little bite of that green olive, and the salinity and the tartness.
I agree 1,000%.
I don't know. What did you? Oh, he just finished his little glass.
Yes. So I think my question, like as we go into kind of food world, because Molly just introduced that. What would you suggest? Because I guess we're not actually doing a wine tasting by the books here, because I think I poured the Barolo. So
are you serious?
That's all right.
That's why I handed you the bottle.
Oh,
I love this.
Give me the
that's
other
what it's
bottle?
all
And that's
about.
how we learn about
sharing
different
and we're
wines
going.
without preconceived notions. She thought it was Rioja.
And no, you're pouring the same one again, love.
Cutie, look.
Yeah, but I was tasting the Barolo.
I'd like to taste this one.
That's what you just tasted.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
This is how it happens, right? Whenever we're at dinner with y'all in Napa,
9,000
it's
bottles.
like you open
9,000.
6 bottles of wine for the table, right? And then it's just like you're passing and tasting. So we're just trying to be like Holly and Keith Emerson and explore. I love the exploration. So I tried Barolo first. Tell us what good food pairings you would suggest.
Yeah, we're in
with
Italy
the
now,
Barolo.
so that's it's the Nebbiolo grape. So a lot of people call it the Pinot Noir of Italy, but it's a grape that is sort of a chameleon. You can really create many different styles of wine with the Nebbiolo grape. I've had Nebbiolos that are really, really light, low alcohol, and refreshing. I've had Nebbiolos that are powerful and strong and tannic and robust, and everything in between. But as far as food pairings go, I mean, I'd go straight to Parmesan. I'd go straight to just delicious pasta dishes, maybe with
Like
red
a braised
sauce.
meat, a long braised meat, as opposed to
Absolutely.
a seared steak.
Yeah.
I would say.
Also buco.
I like that. Man,
I know.
I'm
I know,
so
right?
hungry right now.
I'm going to go back to something that Molly said about how she drank it on her own and it was a little abrasive and maybe not delicious on its own, but you pair it with food. That is a very common theme with European wines, right?
Sure.
In general, where in America, to have a Napa Valley Cabernet, it's actually pretty delicious on its own. Again, we have more fruit flavors just in our wines in general because of the climate, because of the clones, because of just we're not trying to get fruit flavors in the wine. That is what's naturally occurring in grapes, as opposed to the more tertiary notes in European wines. Kind of safe to say, broad assumption.
Yep.
So
there's primary, secondary, and tertiary flavors and characteristics of every wine. And a lot of European wines are what I call maybe more tertiary, more soil-driven, earth-driven, that type of character.
which are beautiful, but sometimes do require food. They do require another a component to bring out some of those magical flavors.
Like
So
that.
absolutely delicious. American wines, just in general, a Napa Valley Cabernet is pretty delicious. It tastes like the notes are going to be more blackberries and plums and cassis. And so if you're going to open your bottles to prepare for dinner, but you're still cooking dinner, you might not suck down as many glasses of Barolo as you do Napa Cabernet, just because it is actually delicious on its own. So you do sometimes end up drinking more than you expect because you're sitting down to dinner having already drank half of the bottle, where you don't necessarily do that with European wine. So super, super broad assumption there, but also maybe why you wake up and have a headache because you did just accidentally drink more.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, so myth number 1. Here's kind of where I feel like we're landing on this. You have to be careful of where you're at walking into
Yeah, for
drinking
sure.
wine. Are you hydrated? Have you eaten enough that day? You know, that sort of thing. And then the other kind of back end to that might be, it's such a cushy, easy drinking wine that you might be drinking more of your domestically produced California Cabernet, for example. But as you've proved here today, we've got steady alcohol level across the board for all three.
That's a big factor for sure.
I agree.
All right. Well, I think all three of us were on the same page, and Molly wasn't on the Rioja versus the Barolo. So,
I do.
you want to move to the Rioja?
We're ready to
Have
go.
y'all open it? Rioja. Am I saying that
Do it
correctly?
again.
I want to make sure I'm not.
I mean,
butchering
Holly
it.
says always not to overthink it.
Rioja.
I feel like you
I went
have
over
like
the
a
bowl. I
mustache
went over
when you're
top,
saying
over
that,
the
but
Oh my gosh! I should.
Twirling it.
I don't know if you saw me for the 4th of July, but
Fantastic.
I
We're
had a
gonna need to
handlebar
post that.
mustache. Molly wasn't there to tell me no, so I did post
my
it. Check it
gosh.
out. It's
Well,
this
on
is how much you
Instagram.
guys need wives.
Reluctantly.
Keith used to wear cargo shorts before me.
Tank top, handlebar mustache. I will say I was not drinking fine wine.
Molly,
that day.
never leave again.
I was not doing it, but Molly keeps me refined. She's the better half in that part for sure. So let's dive
I
into
get a
this.
lot more
This
fruit
Rioja.
right off the nose. I get a lot more
I love
fruit
it, honestly.
than the Barolo, but again, we haven't
Yeah.
got to the Napa yet. So what do you think, babes?
Yeah. So Rioja in northern Spain, it's Tempranillo is the grape here. So the Tempranillo grape,
Tempranillo.
and there's some beautiful Tempranillos kind of all over the place. I mean, I've had Tempranillos from multiple countries, but Spain is definitely the home of Tempranillo. And Rioja wines are. This is from the Rioja Alta. There's Rioja Alta and Rioja Baja, so southern and northern, higher and lower. And this is from the Rioja Alta, which is typically the more premium part of Rioja. And like I said, Tempranillo, 100% Tempranillo. These grapes are, as opposed to Nebbiolo, these grapes are larger. The clusters are bigger, and these vines are actually very old. They're dry farmed, so there's no irrigation at all. They're very low to the ground, and they're not like when you come to Napa and you see a lot of the vineyards are on a vertical shoot positioning trellis. They're in lines, like very straight lines. These are not. These are like singular little bushes, and they're very low. Yeah, very low to the ground. They only yield less than 2 tons an acre. So concentrated. Yeah, and the grapes themselves have a lot more pulp. They're more kind of meaty and pulpy, and
So less skins?
the skins are just thinner. There's more juice and pulp inside. So yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
really? So the skin's thinner, and so like the inside, the actual like
It's more
grape,
like a juicy
pulp
plum.
That you,
Yeah.
Wow.
So it can
I
actually
love that.
be,
That's
it can be good.
Yeah.
It can be good to be thin-skinned. You don't always have to be thick-skinned.
Yeah, it can actually. Pinot Noir is very thin-skinned. Zinfandel is
That's why
very
it's more
thin-skinned.
delicate for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But that yeast is going to have to work harder or less hard to penetrate
Delicate,
the skin.
sensitive.
Yeah.
So it's less to actually get to start fermentation. So that's why you get some more concentration in the thicker skin wines, because it has to work harder to actually ferment that grape.
But then if you put Tempranillo on a hillside with a lot of wind, and if there's a lot of weather, a lot of elements, then the skins will naturally thicken. They're resistant. They're trying to be resistant to all the wind to protect themselves. Yeah, so you can have thicker skinned Tempranillo grapes as well. It just depends on the climate.
I'm telling you, climate, it's a big deal.
So what kind of grapes would grow in Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Yeah,
Really thick skin grapes?
Yeah. Ice wine.
Ice wine, things like that. German varieties.
I think they
That's
should
a
stick
thing?
to cheese because
Exactly.
they do it so well. Like we've got enough wine and we
That's
always
right.
need
That's
more
right.
cheese.
There's a good wine region not too far from there in the Niagara Peninsula.
There we
They make
go.
a lot of great ice wines and
Yeah, but
cooler
don't give
climate
Wisconsin
wines
any ideas. Let's stick to football and cheese.
There we go.
We are
Yeah.
really good at football and cheese.
I
So,
like that too.
so the like bookworm in me is just trying to keep track here. So I'm just dying over your comment about Nebbiolo being like the Pinot Noir of Italian wines. That's an astounding connection for me. And then with the Rioja, we're talking about kind of knowing the regions and why it's great. But I'm looking at the bottle here and I see it contains sulfites. So can we just go ahead and bite that? I feel like
dive in.
I feel like it's it's almost like a water tank top. It's like, oh well, I drink wine, but it can't have any sulfites. That sort of thing. It's real serious. Like I feel like we
It's
can
a
make
big deal.
T-shirts at this point, but like what
this
what
is a
are
big one.
sulfites? Like what are
Big one
sulfites?
for
Why do we
Keith.
care about them? Why is
I
it
would
important?
I actually would like that.
No,
sulfite.
barely anything is sulfite
I
free.
heart sulfites.
Yeah, all of our favorite wines have sulfite.
I'm just kidding.
I heart sulfites. That's what we need.
I already have my I heart gluten.
Just
I heart gluten, yeah.
Free the sulfites. They should be. They're out there. Free
I heart
the,
gluten.
Yeah.
I feel like they could be
Sulfites
friend
and gluten.
back.
Oh, I just want bread and wine forever.
I heart gluten. I heart
This
sulfites.
is a huge question.
I'm ready for this pasta. I'm about to just dive down deep into this
I feel
pasta.
like for anyone who's kind of like gone one layer past, like I like wine. Now our next talking points are like tannins and sulfites, and sulfites have got a got a real bad rap, guys. They've got a real bad rap.
Tell us the
Yeah.
sulfite.
I
Gotcha. So
sulfite
when the
mystery.
yeast, we talked a little bit about yeast eating sugar and creating ethanol. That's where the alcohol comes from. While the yeast is eating that sugar and creating that ethanol, one of the byproducts, it's basically a waste product. You know, if you eat anything, you have to have waste. Sorry, but you do. So
Everybody poops.
One of the byproducts is.
There you
go.
That's
Another T-shirt.
One of the
tagline
byproducts
for
is,
the show.
is naturally sulfite. So as the yeast eats the sugar, it kind of spits out sulfites, and so you can not add any sulfur to a wine. You can basically, add 0 sulfur during the entire winemaking process, and the wine will still have a very small residual amount of sulfites because it's natural. That's how the yeast eats the sugar and creates the ethanol. So it's in all wines. When you're looking at a wine that doesn't say contains sulfites, it means it's under 10 parts. If you're looking at a wine that is organically grown and produced, it means it's under 10 parts per million.
That's a big Pandora's box.
Of free sulfur dioxide. And
and we're
then
going there.
there's this approach where you want to be minimal. You want to use a minimalistic approach, which is what I use typically in most of my wines, where you're taking care of the wine, you're responsible, you're making the wine the best possible quality you can, but out of respect for this process, this fermentation process, and the fact that oxygen, the wine's very sensitive to oxygen, microbial agents, the wine's very sensitive to microbes and bacterias and things like that. That's where the SO2 comes in. That's where the sulfites come in. You give these tiny, tiny, tiny little doses on a relatively regular basis, and you keep the wine healthy. What sulfur does in a wine is it protects the wine from oxygen exposure, so browning, turning an apple into like an overripe, think of a red delicious apple. When it gets really old and it starts to get a little brown, that's exactly what a wine will do if you don't use preservative like sulfites. And then ethanol plays in that game too. The actual alcohol, the ethanol in the wine protects from oxygen as well. Tannins in a wine protect from oxygen as well. Those are all sort of safety tools almost in winemaking. And so you want to use a lot of people want to use a very, very minimalistic approach when it comes to adding sulfur to a wine, so that you're not bottling the wine, you're not finishing the wine at a high sulfite level. You want to keep it low and undetectable. So that's how I use it. But just think of things like Lay's potato chips. Potato chips, there's SO2 in there. Carrots, a bag of carrots, there's SO2 in there. There's sulfites in all these things. A bag of pretzels. It's just something that you use in the food. Dried apricots, yeah. It's something that you use in the food and beverage industry. And going to school for winemaking, I took a lot of food science classes, and it's important. It's not just important in wine, but it's important in so many different products. Yeah.
So sulfites are everywhere, not just in our wine bottles. And they have some really redeeming qualities. Like, do they do anything bad to you? Like, what happens if you have like overdose on sulfite? Like, what's
overdose on sulfite?
I'm just saying, like, what's the
sulfites.
negative externality? Okay, so no sulfite wine just means 10 parts or less. So
that's why you have to say contains sulfites
in wine.
on the label.
Sulfites are not Sulfites are not giving you headaches. Possibly might need a Kleenex.
Well, tell me this too.
And that's not a difference between American and European wines.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's the common misconception is that, European wines, like European anything, it's like it's free of all things.
Exactly.
It's perfect, everything. And I'm reading this bottle right now. from Spain,
Yes.
and it says contain sulfites. So yeah, so like why has that been the story that's been told?
Who did this
that
to
it's
us?
like
Who did this?
wine
Whose fault is it?
from Europe are cleaner
the hipsters.
than American.
Stop it. It's the hipsters.
From sulfites.
Well, we started this podcast by saying
We live in their headquarters, Keith.
we started this podcast by saying there is good and bad winemaking in every country, right? So there's over sulfited,
Yes.
over sugar. There's all of the bad things in here, in Italy, in France, in Spain. So is there wines with too much sulfites in the US? Absolutely. But are they also in other countries? Absolutely. So it's just a matter, we're trying to give you tools.
So if a winemaker,
That's why
we're trying to give you the
find
little tools
we're
because
leading
it
you
is
towards the
hard to
great
look on the
stuff.
back of a label and actually get all the information you need.
I love that.
so if a winemaker adds too much sulfites, is that like a helicopter parent? Like, are you just being
Maybe. Oh, I love
overprotective
that.
here?
Yeah, for sure. That's great. I love it.
Ding!
Relax, man.
Yeah, just simmer down.
Easy on the SO2. Easy on the SO2.
Relax.
Let it be.
Easy.
That's the
Sometimes
back
it's
of
a
the
mistake
t-shirt.
too when it's done in the cellar. Sometimes the topping gun, the sulfur gun, will get stuck. Something will happen, and it's a mistake. But actually, the wrong amount of SO2 goes into the barrel. I certainly haven't seen that in a long time, but I've seen it back in the day. I've certainly seen that.
Where's the gun? I want to see the gun. I stopped listening as soon as you said there was a sulfite gun. I want to see this thing.
It's just
Like
a
he
little,
couldn't like
a little
wine
metal,
anymore.
Tool with a button, and
Yeah, right.
No, build it up, Keith.
So, like,
Build it up.
James Bond
It's
style?
it's like a grenade launcher. This is like you walk in with this grenade launching gun, and you're just like
Wine.
Sulfites. So, wait, I will
sulfites.
say
Rambo
about
wine.
I'm transitioning
It's
out of the
Rambo.
gun. A way I have seen winemakers cry, Keith and Stefan Vivier, when you taste a wine and you're like, gosh, I know this vineyard, I know these grapes. Why did they hurt it so much? Why did they do the wrong thing with this wine? And we have been
Such a
in
bummer.
places. There was a big movement. Again, this is probably a whole other episode about it, where you taste a wine and you're like, this is spoiled. This is, if the winemaker just would have not been cool and just added
tried
a
to
tiny bit of sulfur,
Yeah.
this wine would have been delicious. Is that wrong to say? Instead, they were like, it's cool.
We're talking
tiny.
like pinches of salt, right? Where it's like,
Exactly.
oh, I don't have
Or
salt,
it's
so I
just
don't
like,
eat these things,
I want
and it's
to
like
make
a
it
little
on a
pinch is
blog
gonna just help
about,
you out.
natural unsulfited wines, and the result. But is that better? Would you rather have that? Is that worth spoiling wine for? Is that worth taking beautiful grapes and the whole important process and
Not
the
in my
long,
opinion.
labor-intensive process to make a bottle of wine, and then just let it go through a secondary fermentation and spoil in bottle because you want to be cool, because people don't like sulfites? I think it's ridiculous. I'm off my soapbox. Please rebuttal.
That's
That
why
is
we need
ridiculous.
to know that they're okay so that we don't gravitate towards this like trendy process. And I think that's why I like wine, is because it's an age-old process, right? Like consumers shouldn't be driving the winemaker's process. Like this is an age-old tradition, a historical way of living, and we can't let buzzwords get in the way of common sense and good processes.
I agree.
Free the
I agree.
sulfites with a controlled hand.
With a controlled gun.
Because the sulfites aren't giving you
Controlled
headaches.
Sulfite shooter.
Have a Gatorade before
And
dinner,
there is,
people.
honestly, in an ounce of dried apricots has more sulfites than an entire bottle of wine.
Wow,
Google it.
knowledge is power,
Sure.
I
people.
love it.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Okay, well
Google that.
let's jump right in here. So organic's better, right? Clean and organic wine is better.
I'm going to stay off my soapbox.
It
Yes or no?
personal
No,
preference.
get on that soapbox. I said
Yeah.
that, wanting
That's
you
a,
to
that's a
jump
personal
up.
preference
on that
thing, in my
soapbox.
opinion.
Oh,
I
come
think that
on.
there's If you're
Come on,
technically
Keith.
Sure. Yeah.
If
You can
you're
just lean
technically an
organic if
organic
you want.
wine, then you have under 10 parts per million sulfites, under 10 parts per million free sulfur dioxide in the wine. FSO2 is what we call it. So under 10 parts. A wine is probably going to taste like a bruised Granny Smith apple. A red wine is going to taste like a bruised Granny Smith apple. It's going to have aldehydes. A lot of aldehydes in there.
Do not like that.
Typically, maybe some acetic acid, which is what leads to vinegar. And these are different. These are those type of spoilage microorganisms that I mentioned earlier. Some of those microbes that you use sulfites to protect from. You use sulfites to avoid those things from occurring in your wine. And so a lot of organic wines have higher volatile acidities and higher. You're getting closer towards vinegar. And so what I use sulfur for is to protect the wines from going in that direction. So yes, an organic wine is under 10 parts per million, but you can also be an organic vineyard. You can get your grapes from an organic vineyard. And that just means your sprays, your weekly or biweekly or every other week sprays, are from you're using organic materials. A lot of people will use different types of oils instead of conventional sprays. You'll use like different types of oils that you spray to keep all the pests, the fungus, anything, molds, anything like that from growing on the clusters, on the grapes and on the vines. So you could be an organic vineyard, but then not be an organic winemaker. You can also be a not organic vineyard and then be organic winemaker, or you do it all organic. So there's a lot of different options. It really is. You have, like I always tell you guys, there's so many different styles that you can take. You can give 10 winemakers the same grapes, and we can make 10 completely different products.
Okay, I have a huge soapbox on this. When Keith said there can be an organic vineyard, that means certified organic, right? There's a difference between farmers that are actually doing everything right in the vineyard, that are so sustainable, that sing to them, that eat the cover crop. I'm talking to you, Phil Couturi, but they don't get the organic certification. They don't go and pay for the various things. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah, you could do a lot of things organically, but not be an organic vineyard.
But not be a certified organic vineyard. And if you're driving and we were just on the East Coast and you're driving down this, and there's beautiful, beautiful farm stand. And there's these little kids selling the most gorgeous tomatoes you've ever seen in your life. And are they certified organic? Like, did they have the county come in and certify them organic? Am I going to not eat that beautiful, perfect tomato that was grown in somebody's yard because there's not a sticker on it that says organic? It's just about knowing where your stuff is coming from, knowing where your produce, grapes are produce. So, and it also means, like when Keith was talking about spraying oils on and all the things you could do, it doesn't mean that the alternative to that is like going out there and blasting it with Roundup. I think that's a misconception as well. If it doesn't say organic on the label, it means that it's full of chemicals and Roundup and rat poison. And that's just not the case. It's not the case. And I used to work with some incredible Italian wines that I sold, and it was like this tiny, beautiful little Italian man would come to talk about the vineyard that he'd been farming and his family had been farming for hundreds of years. And they're not going to go and pay the money to be certified organic, but they absolutely are. So if you know the source.
Yeah, because they were existing in this space before that term was created.
With that,
right? Like just because it's given a term,
cost associated.
Yes.
Yeah,
so are you gonna fire somebody who's working at the vineyard, or are you gonna forego the certification? And it reminds me a little bit. My kids have been loving the Franklin Farmers Market, and it is dreamy. It is unbelievable. My parents live down there in Franklin, Tennessee. Heaven on earth, and can't wait to get you guys out here. And there was not one time that I asked any of those people for their organic certifications. I'm looking at the produce and they're telling me about their farm, and their kids are handing me the produce, all the different stuff. But we went ahead and moved to the Vineyard 29. Keith, Holly, is it fair to ask, like, I don't see organic on the label. Do you feel like sharing how you guys manage pests, or you're not organic? What's your deal? How many cans of Roundup?
You put it in a gun.
Stop.
We haven't used Roundup in years.
Yeah,
we're drinking
as long as there's a gun.
Cabernet Sauvignon from Vineyard 29, Napa Valley. Sustainable.
good.
That's what we do.
good.
We are sustainable farming. You would like some, yes, absolutely. So sustainable farming, and as I mentioned, a very judicial, minimalistic approach to using sulfur dioxide, to using SO2 in the wines. So I think it's important to, we're working with a piece of dirt, if you will. We're working with land that is going to be around for a lot longer than us, a lot longer than the winemaker, a lot longer than the farmer. And so making sure that it's sustainable and that it's, better when you leave than it was when you got here. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's all about. We're trying to make these vineyards last as long as they possibly can, keep them nice and healthy, and do it responsibly and sustainably, and making sure that, any nearby creeks or rivers or anything are not being contaminated, making sure that our water sources are, our water, where our well pumps are drawing water from, making sure that's not contaminated. We're always testing our water, and just being sustainable, making sure that you're respecting the land and respecting the vineyards that you're growing. And that's how we approach it. It's a sustainable farming practices, and then a minimalistic, judicial use of SO2 in the winery.
Which is a common thread. That is, it's a wonderful thing that Vineyard 29 does, but it's not necessarily incredibly unique when it comes to our peers and high-end producers. It's not like, it's a pretty common thing at the level of wines like this. This to me tastes like I could drink a bottle of it while I'm cooking dinner.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yes. There's a store.
I'm having a hard time not pouring
Now
a little bit more. I'm like,
You just go right ahead. There's a store in Green Bay.
I'm not going anywhere today.
No, we're not. There's a store in Green Bay, and when they opened, COVID hit, and they started delivering things to people's houses, and it was a brilliant business model. And I had to go on a trip, and she dropped some things off at the house, and I pulled this thing out of the bag, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? But I didn't send it right back, and I'll tell you what it was. It was a cashmere travel blanket, and I've had it now for over a decade. And to me, that's how this wine
Texture
feels.
is so big.
It's like,
nice.
it is never, it's never too heavy. It's comforting. It's a cashmere blanket, which, yes, I realize that's obnoxious to say, but I didn't pick it out for myself.
We all deserve luxury. But
I use it all the time. Well, I mean, if you're going to buy it, buy the good stuff and feel
less better
great.
things, right? You have less things, but they're better quality. They're going to last longer. And something like this, yes, if we were having this, it's 14.5% alcohol, the same as the other two. Like, maybe don't drink quite as much, but enjoy every sip of it.
We mentioned that the Barolo was the Nebbiolo grape and that the Rioja was the Tempranillo grape. This Napa Valley Cabernet is, it's a grape that we call Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But one fun thing about the cru, about the Vineyard 29 Cru Napa Cab, is that I like to use other grapes in there as well. So it's about 90% Cab. Some years it's about 88. But then we'll use all the Bordeaux varieties, all those French varieties in there. So there's a little bit of Petit Verdot, a little bit of Cabernet Franc, a little bit of Merlot, and a little bit of Malbec in this wine. So it's a blend. It's a Napa Cab. So in order to be a Cabernet Sauvignon, it needs to be 75% Cab. But it has all those Bordeaux blenders in there too. And a lot of that, Molly mentioned the texture. She mentioned the cashmere. But I actually use velvet as a common word when I'm describing these Cabernets that we're making at Vineyard 29. There's sort of a velvety, sort of polished type of texture that I like a lot. Cashmere is that's pretty nice too. Though. It sounds even better.
Keith, so so why so defined? And I know you're such a detailed person, and like how you make your wines, it's so amazing. But 14.6% alcohol, that's a very specific number. You see in these others 14 and a half, it's 13, like 14.6. So you literally make sure that 0.1% is accounted for. And how important is that to you versus maybe some of these others? Because I've heard that sometimes, and so like maybe even in Europe and that they don't have to be fully transparent with exact numbers,
Absolutely.
that their alcohol content is. So 14.6% is. As soon as I saw that,
a lot of people are
I thought that was
surprised.
fascinating.
A lot of people are surprised when you actually, if you taste, there's some Bordeaux out there right now that they used to be 13% and they just never changed the label. And now they're about 14.8, 14.9, and it still says 13. That's very, very common. And legally in the United States, at least in California, legally, we have 1% leeway. But
that's huge.
Specifically, that's big, that's right? Huge. Yeah. But I specifically like to test once I get the wine finalized and I get it out to tank and it's bottle ready, I send it into the lab and run an official alcohol. And so legally, we have a leeway. We have 1%, nice. But we are pretty darn spot on. So this is what I call a true 14.6.
And that is a distinction. And that is something when people ask, like when we're having dinner with winemaker friends and they say, oh, hey, what is the alcohol on that? He won't tell them the alcohol. He'll say it's a true 14.6. And they know what that means. That means like, this isn't actually 14.9. This is not 15.1. This is a true 14.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they'll be like, it's a this. So, which is not bad. It's just you do make the decision because you have that leeway. Do you take it or do you not? And we choose not to.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. What you see is what you taste. But for me, what's really interesting about this is here we've tasted, Holly and Keith, we've had the privilege of getting to tag along on some of your adventures. And I know there's like vertical tastings, and I've never done an APV or ABV tasting before where we went by the alcohol content.
It's kind of interesting.
This is a new one. But
yeah,
it is interesting to think about that conversation of American wines give me a headache. And I think the bottom line for me is that, when you walk into art gallery or something and you see a really moving piece of art, usually it's the artist's interpretation, right? Maybe nowadays it's some sort of crowdsourced thing where like we're all polling as it goes, but it sounds like the problem is when you get too many cooks in the kitchen or you're catering to a trend, right? I know whenever I have major missteps in like, say, my personal wardrobe, it's because I took a stab at a trend. And so sulfites are okay. It makes me think of fruit salad also. Yeah. Maybe this is a bad example, but when you squeeze lemon to try and keep your fruit from spoiling.
100%.
Right? Like just trying to stop it in its tracks.
You know what else has sulfites? Those cans of
not a bad thing.
Yeah, but don't eat those. That's gross. I don't think that's what she means.
All right, guys, we've asked you a lot of questions, and re-listening to our last episode, I did laugh out loud when we got to Holly's questions. But it is your turn. Do you have individual questions for us, or do you have a couple questions this week? What's our question?
Before you go, though, I think for our next episode, I
don't know where he's going with this.
I've poured wine for a long time. But I'm realizing I might need a lesson in the next episode on how to pour wine.
Gotcha.
So
noted.
Keep that little nugget. I just want to. I think we should give our listeners, and honestly, it's selfish.
Like
it's for me.
Presentation techniques. This whole thing is
literally
for us.
so I'm not getting drips, and I dripped wine on the tablecloth.
Keith is the one that's going to lead that, not me.
I wasn't going to say it.
Yes. All right. So that's for next time. You ask your questions, but I want that noted. I need that for next time.
Noted.
All right, hit us with your best shot. We're ready.
No.
I'm sort of ready. Holly, you really threw me for a loop.
I have one.
That was really nice. I found the cheerleading
Also another
outfit.
episode, but it's after dark.
I can't do this. I can't.
Oh, so good.
I can't live up to that. I can't live up to that one.
Don't keep
It's just
diving in.
I got nothing.
Go.
No. I want to know.
All right, go ahead.
Is there, during your playing days, Mason, is there a particular pre-game meal that you like to have? I know that a lot of people are very, they're very regimented and they have their structure and they have what they do. I'd like to know, is there a pre-game meal that you would always have?
So night before, it looks very similar to this. Yeah. A nice steak. I love Caesar salad, so I'd usually have a Caesar salad. Molly, being there in Green Bay, I think we had like a standing order at our favorite restaurant, Chives. They had this bavette sliced steak, and we'd get that with Caesar salad. She'd either go get it or we'd
have 5
have
kids,
someone
like,
run
obviously.
and go get it.
Yeah.
I like to keep people employed.
We had a lot of it. Yeah, we kept the economy going.
I
there in
often
Green Bay.
volunteered for that though, like to just get out of the house.
But honestly, it was like that. Like for me, like I don't know, red meat. Like it made me. It's just comforting, and like we would open up. Honestly, a lot of times I can't tell you how many
Crew
times
cab.
the crew cab was open, or Vineyard 29, or Emerson Brown, or at large, and it was just like just have a glass of wine, have a nice steak and a nice salad,
And then leave for the hotel before bedtime.
and then take off to the hotel and get
Perfect.
a good night's sleep for sure. No, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that definitely is
Yeah,
it.
we
Y'all
did.
been
And,
there.
and
Y'all
I think
seen
that
it.
that when you said have a nice glass of wine, and we were lucky enough to have dinner with you before a game, and we're surprised to see you drinking. And you drank, but you drank very
I know.
consciously
Moderately, yeah.
and moderately. And so I think that's the whole point. You can go out
Yeah.
and literally win a game, like win a huge game, win a championship. That was a crazy weekend.
That was such a fun weekend.
You can have a glass of wine to do that because you're like, and if I'm going to have one glass of wine, it's going to be a great one. So I think that's the lesson with all
gonna
of
be
this.
good.
Like I'm
Yeah,
going to
it's gonna
drink
be
this
great. I'm gonna
wine
enjoy it.
because it has low alcohol, but I can drink more. Or am I going to drink something I really, really want and it's delicious? And so get the cashmere blanket.
Get the cashmere blanket.
That's right.
And Mason, who taught you to have a glass of wine the night before a game? Go ahead and name drop.
Yeah, the name drop. The first glass of wine I think I ever had before a game, and it was surprising, was with Charles Woodson. And he won the defensive MVP that year. So I was like, well, I should follow suit. Greatness follows greatness. So I was just like, yeah, I'll probably have a glass of wine for the rest of my career the night before the game. I mean, it trains the brain and the body. It's like it's like any routine. Like I trained all week, my whole career, and it's like like that was part of the routine. You have a glass of wine, you don't overindulge, you go to sleep, and then you could celebrate after the game when you go out there and win it. Like then that's the fun part.
And after that fateful dinner with Charles Woodson, we started keeping a really nice bottle in waiting
I love that.
for when you'd have
Always
a game
have
winner.
that.
You get to sit back in your
Always.
chair
I love that.
and
Yeah.
sit back in your chair and watch
Anticipatory.
yourself on Sports Center win a game. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
that was pretty amazing. That was really fun. But also stress, right? If one glass of wine really kind of relaxes you, stress is worse than anything, right? So stress.
For us, much better than like trying to, take something else or like seek other things to try to,
sure.
relax you or calm you down. Like, you could.
And it's that consistency, right? Like during the week, he'd have a
tannins.
glass. I know, just wine is just so good. He'd have a glass of wine with
So
dinner
leggy.
just about every night during the week. That consistency, that stress relief, that connection, because it's obviously something we don't share with
Yeah.
the kids. It's something we share together. Exclusive is
that
fun.
goes into my question too,
It's just
Molly.
our thing. Yeah, and we share
So
with people.
I want to know, and
All right,
I
Holly.
cooked one of my favorite meals we didn't have the kids last night, so it was just the two of us, and I cooked one of my favorite meals. I want to know what you cook for, like, it's just the two of you, which I know is rare. But it's just the two of you, or maybe the kids went to bed early because you accidentally made them intermittent fast so they would go to bed. And you're cooking a meal with Mason. What's your go-to date meal? Mine's roast chicken. So what's your date meal?
Oh, well, I had a lot of doozies there in the beginning, a lot of really bad attempts, like before kids were even in the picture. And I love to cook.
I don't like mushrooms, and she put the most mushrooms humanly possible on a plate of spaghetti. I was
just felt like it was fancy.
Is this mushroom spaghetti? Like, what are we eating here?
Kind of early on though. Probably about the time.
Oh my gosh, the boiled steak.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Okay, Men's Health is a great publication, but don't trust their recipes. Don't do it. It was Mason literally looked at me.
Boil steak.
I
think it might have said broil, and she
he said,
boiled
"Is this
it.
dog food?" And I was like, "You are not a smart man." Okay, but I have a go-to for Mason that he loves, and it's kind of this hijacked chicken parmesan recipe that I ended up making. Good. And when we lived in Green Bay, and now we're kind of spoiled having Whole Foods, but Festival Foods had this really good pre-seasoned chicken breast. Italian, or it'd have like they had several flavors,
like garlic parmesan.
Yeah. And so I would like saute the chicken, brown it, and then cut it halfways and stuff it with spinach and goat cheese and finish it off and just some spicy tomato sauce out of the jar
and then bake it.
And I feel like I could do that meal in my sleep. It's nice because I can like prep it in the morning. He doesn't love spaghetti squash, but I do. So I'll roast the spaghetti squash or have it like par baked and then some pasta and we drink red wine with everything.
That's great.
We've been drinking a lot of white wine lately, but I do love. I
actually, because we were in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Mason did great. I actually got to be on a cooking show where I made that.
All right.
Oh, and red chili flakes.
Okay, well, I'm going to task
we like
you
spicy
with making it.
You're spicy.
But after the twins were born, it was a lot more ordering. I got way more efficient. A lot less making. I used to give him massages before games too. That went out the window.
You like to keep people employed.
She outsources.
There was too many kids. Someone did take a picture. I think your mom took a picture. I was like wearing a baby with a kid on my back, rubbing his feet before the game. And I was fine with that. But once there was too many kids.
The other night I said like, my calves are killing me. Could you just like,
she's like, I'll make you an appointment.
Just rub my leg for like a second. No,
I told each kid to rub his feet for 5 minutes.
She started trying to bring the kids
That's
in.
Great.
And I was like, what is happening right now?
That's what I said, Holly. That's what I said.
It felt like little ants like touching my leg. I'm like,
That's a lie. Christine gives an excellent foot massage.
So funny. Awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to make it and post it because apparently social media is a thing that I have to join. So I'll make the chicken parm step by step.
I love it. Awesome.
But better yet, when you all come out to launch your big thing here in Tennessee and nationwide, which I'm just teasing at, I'll make it for you.
Ooh, fancy.
I'm actually feeling a little nervous. I'm going to start practicing.
Better.
I'm out of practice.
I look forward to it.
All right. Well, so next episode, we're going to go ahead and tackle that whole sugar.
That's a big one.
Sugar thing. And can wine drinking be okay for your health? Yes, is the short answer.
And how to pour. That's how we'll start.
Wine. And how to pour. So I guess I'm illiterate at that.
He has the drinking part down. We are so appreciative of your time. We can't wait till next time. Like we alluded to in the beginning, we know it's been a week, and it's just so nice to sit and be with you. And we hope you as listeners got something out of it and are joining us in this taste test palooza.
Don't be afraid of sulfites.
Sulfites aren't scary.
We're trying to keep you safe from microorganisms.
And oxygen.
Yeah.
Gatorade before wine.
Oxygen.
Gatorade
Organic
before wine.
is not the end all be all.
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, enjoy it. But it was awesome again sharing amazing wine with you. As always, I mean, Crew stole the show. She's pretty exceptional. I love the detail. And next time we come out, whenever I kick another field goal through those wine crates, I'm going to have to
for sure.
this sulfite.
For sure. Absolutely.
It has to happen.
You got it.
He hasn't stopped being that. He
Just
didn't hear
the
a single
sulfite.
another thing in the podcast.
I did.
Thank you guys.
Cheers, guys.
All right. Well,
Love
cheers,
you.
friends. Till
Have a
next
great
time.
week.
All right. Cheers.
Who you share it with.
Well, that's it for this pour. Thanks for spending time with Crosby's crew. If you tried one or all of the wines from today's episode, we want to hear about it. Head to our socials and let us know which one was your favorite and why.
Curious about what we're tasting next? Check the lineup and send us your questions. We'll be answering them in the upcoming episodes. Nothing's too nerdy or too simple. If you're wondering, someone else is probably wondering too.
And hey, before you go, just a reminder that drinking and driving is never okay. Please enjoy wine responsibly. Always have a designated driver lined up before the bottles open and consume in moderation.
Until next time, cheers from the crew.